just a while to link live and direct down in St. Kitts with the lovely Mrs. Natasha Grey-Brookes, candidate in the last general election. Although she wasn't successful in her bid, she's loved by many. Community activist, lawyer by trade, and for first and foremost, a new towner. You got to give her props for that. Dedicated woman in the community. As with 6:30 on the dot, we're going to be rolling up right now on Vibes Online Radio. And we say good afternoon to the lovely Mrs. Natasha Grey-Brookes, affectionately known as Shannie. Shannie, how are you doing this afternoon? If I may take the liberty of calling you Shannie.
Good afternoon, Cris. I'm doing fine. I hope that you are enjoying the April weather. I know you can call me Shannie. I have known you since I've been in Pampers, so calling me Shannie is no offense at all to me. But I don't know if I can call you Cris.
You certainly can. Nothing has changed with me. Might be a little bit older, but add a little bit, a few pounds here and there, but still the same old Cris. And I must say, it's a pleasure to have you on this afternoon. And I got to let the listening public know that people like yourself, I admire you. And I admire you for several reasons. One, that you've given this yourself to the public to be a candidate in the last election, which is not something I take lightly from anybody. And the fact that you're young and you could be doing other things. You have a young family, and you've decided that one of the things you wanted to do in your life was to become a politician, to serve the people. And although last election you weren't that successful, I believe you have kept up that momentum. I think you've got a lot ahead of you. You got great things on the horizon, and you're dedicated to the cause, and for that I must applaud you. I don't think that a lot of young people want to get into politics, especially females, so that's a second plus from me to you. So tell us, or tell the public, Shannie, a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you yet.
Well, again, it's a pleasure to be here. I am a proud Newtowner, as you said. I would not try to hide that for anyone or for any reason. And so when I put myself forward to be of service to the people, it is because of shared experiences, familiar circumstances, and things that I myself have experienced and can relate to when it comes to the ordinary man. And some persons feel that because you have made an accomplishment or made some step ahead in life, that you should forget where you are from. Yeah. I will never forget from. In fact, my office, my law office, that is, even my constituency office, is right next to the house that I grew up in on Pond Road. So home is where the heart is.
Wonderful.
I think I found a love for politics because of my grandmother. You think you would have known Bernice Gray.
Oh, yes.
Tagged me along to all the political meetings, fundraisers, going up Pam Hill. I mean, at that point, I was small, and I just loved to see the energy that she had. She was not a candidate herself, but she was very active for the candidates at the time. And I think the things that she did and the things that she did to help that candidate, I saw it bring a smile to people's face. And for me, that was something that always resonated, or has always resonated with me, and I just wanted to do that someday, just bring a smile on people's face.
Okay. Now, you're with a party that has a very long history. I think the party was founded in 1965, and
yes.
The fundamental was to get into we then had the planter class society and things like that, and they were more for the grassroots people. Have you seen that basic, what I would say, the basic goals and objectives of your party change over time?
I think we have stayed true to what we always put forward, putting people first. Sometimes you think that it's always, some persons think that it's good to give somebody a hand out, but we believe in giving persons a hand up, empowering people to be better versions of themselves, to be able to grow, to be able to improve their lifestyle. And that is something that I see from very small, because as I said, when I was around my grandmother, I can recall that I was a beneficiary of the SELF program. So I was able to get school supplies whilst I was going to school. I would have seen a number of community events, Christmas parties. I would see housing programs, even though we were not beneficiaries of that housing program. It helped persons who were of a low income build themselves up. I heard a lady yesterday speaking about her house rent. She pays, I think, $400 and something, but she was comparing it back to the time when the People's Action Movement was in government, and your mortgage was $198. Now, there's no way right now.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to just put that plug in. That seems to be something that I've heard persons recently saying, why do persons who have a mortgage or a small child want to get into politics? I'm not doing or getting involved in politics for myself or for anything that I want to gain. As I said, I think of others. I think of the circumstances that certain persons are in and trying to find a solution to get them out. And maybe that's why I became a lawyer, because I think I love solving problems.
All right. Well, I tell you what, you've touched my heart in the sense of you're reaching down to the grassroots people in our society, and in your own struggle yourself that you've been through, coming from a very modest family and working your way up. The other thing that really, I'll say, amazed me about you, not that you've come from grassroots people and you propelled yourself, how much of a challenge it is being a woman. I mean, you've had the trendsetters like Dame Marcella Liebert, Dr. Thelma Philip Brown, Constance Mitchum, and people like that. Were there people who inspired you? Because I know it can't be easy as a young woman in politics.
Cris, you've hit the nail on the head. It's not as easy as a man has it to be a politician. There are so many other things that we have to deal with as females. In the elections of 2022, that for me is an experience that I never imagined, because firstly, when I became a candidate in 2021, I thought I was preparing for an election for 2025 or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And when I recognized that an election was looming, I was laying in a hospital bed with COVID, on oxygen, and 7.5 months pregnant.
Yeah.
That for me was a defining moment, because I had to make a decision. Here I am, scared for my life. I'm pretending not to be scared. And I'm about to thrust myself, or I'm being thrusted into an election that I had no idea would come so quickly. I had so many plans. I had so many things I wanted to do. But back to what you asked in relation to being a woman, at that point, Cris, I had my strongest, weakest moment, because I had to fight for me, and I had to fight for the baby that was in me, and also fight for the people of East Bastia. I had to make a decision, one that would not just affect my family, but one that can very well change a life for someone. And as you said, I did not win the election, but I think I may have touched a few hearts or souls with my messages, and my message remains the same because I wanted to keep my campaign people centered and focused on empowering individuals. And so I decided God is going to see me through this. I am going to go forward and fight the fight for the people. Now, apart from having to deal with that, because I did not get to have my full maternity leave because the baby, she born 22nd of March. By the end of April, I'm on the road.
Yeah.
And so I had to stock up on vitamins. I had to make sure that I was properly hydrated because after the campaigning, I still had to go home to my baby. I still had to make sure that I am the mother that she needs, and also to my husband.
Yeah.
So it's a balancing act, having to make sure that you can balance your family life. I'm not saying that men don't have to balance their family lives, but it's not the same when it comes to a woman. It's not the same when you have to get up and breastfeed and then still make yourself presentable for the general public.
Yeah.
Yes, a man could go to the barber and have his hair cut. He could have that for maybe 2 weeks. But it's a little different for a woman. And then you have to deal with the public. You have to deal with the critics, because somebody might want to know, well, why is Shannie looking like that? Or why didn't she look like that? Or why she didn't look like Rihanna? So you have all these things to deal with, and then you have the fight down. And when I say fight down, because people think that politics is a man's game. A woman should not be in that position. A woman should not be making and breaking laws. A woman should not be at the helm. And when you look at persons like Dame Constance Mitchum, who championed the cause for, again, back to the maternity leave, women for being able to get longer maternity benefits. When you look at creating a ministry for women's affairs, and look at it now, we have our first Governor General at the helm.
Yes.
I'm quite certain, even though you may not hear it, there may be persons who may have been thinking, why was it not a man? Why didn't we have another male successor as opposed to a female? And so these women, they have very big shoes to fill. And so
we lost Shannie there for a second. We don't know what happened. I don't know if it's a signal on her end, but we will try our best to get her back. Right Hand Vibes. Of course, we have Mrs. Natasha Shannie Gray back online. As there was a drop of the phone system there in St. Kitts. Flow was not flowing. It probably got flooded. I don't know. But we've got Shannie back. Shannie, as we were saying that we were speaking about the elements of the ladies in politics, and somebody would have been saying, why not another man? And I kind of agree with you in that respect, that women need the opportunity to shine in our society. So I'll let you continue.
Yes. And I mean, if we look back at the history, certainly from the history of my political party, and I'm quite certain others can share some of these experiences, that the women work hard to put the men and to put their party in a particular position. They champion the cause, they go out, they cook the meals, they raise funds, they demonstrate, they help to build buildings, they do everything, but then they stand behind and somebody gets the praise. Now, it's not that you're doing things to get praise, but if you can work hard for someone else, why not do it for yourself?
Yeah.
Now, I'm a part of a women's group called Civil, and it encourages women to take positions. It encourages women to try and shatter the glass ceiling. And I am one that, although I came from humble beginnings, I believe that anything is possible. I believe for reaching for the skies. When I came back from studying, I was employed, and I said to myself, and no offense to my previous employer, but if I can do this for someone else, why not do it for myself? And so I took the bold step 3 years after practicing and opened my chambers, because hard work pays off, and it shows, the results would show that your name would speak for itself. And I believe in going the next step.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in staying at a bottom level or even a medium level. I always look at going up.
Okay, and I'll tell you something. I had somebody who just WhatsApped me from across the ocean and said, she's so eloquent. And another person is saying to me, she was with COVID, pregnant, and still finding the energy to get up and campaign. I think some people are going to say, "Oh, you've set a new barrier." I didn't even realize that you had COVID. You know, I knew you were pregnant, and I was worried about. In all fairness, I was worried about being a human being and what you were going to. And I was saying, "Boy, is this lady still going to make it to this? You know, to this election?" And when you bounced back and came out, and you know, I think one interview you were doing, you were going from your interview to your doctor or to the hospital. I remember you saying, and I was like, wow, this woman is determined.
Listen, I don't wish COVID on my worst enemy, but I think I don't know. The doctor said I was in the miracle room. I was on oxygen for 10 days, but God has a purpose for me, and I'm here today, and I thank God for all that He has done in my life, and I will continue to do as much as I can for as many people as I can once He gives me strength.
Yes, and one of the things I got to say about you remain relevant in your community. You're still doing a lot of projects here and there, still trying to help the poor and needy, and I must applaud you on the relationship that you have with Dr. Hanley, who was one, and you know, you were neighbors for years, politics or no politics, and I believe that friendship has even blossomed, and you've set on a whole new, both yourself and him have set on a whole new concept of what politicians should be like. When it's all said and done, you're human beings, and you know, you guys have been able to communicate still and get together still, and in this season of high crime that we're seeing, I mean, is there any plans in the making for you and he to collaborate and see if you can fight this scourge that we're facing?
Well, I'll start where you ended in terms of the crime situation. I think we are seeing an upsurge in crime, which I think needs to be nipped in the bud sooner rather than later. Dr. Hanley and I, we grew up on the same road, as you said, 2-3 houses apart, and you know, I get licks for that, because people say, you need to stop being friends with Jeffrey, or you need to call him out on certain things. And trust me, there is going to be the calling out. There is going to be the time for making him or holding him accountable and responsible, because he is a representative. Yeah. And I would say there are certain shortcomings. But when it comes to the issue of crime, there has to be a united front. I recognize that last week, there were 3 murders in constituency number 1 in particular. I could not believe when the second one happened within a space of less than 30 hours.
Yeah.
And I found that this was something that I needed to speak on. And I when I saw the post that somebody had died around 3 o'clock in the morning, that's when I saw it. I just got up and I could not go back to sleep. Crime is a situation that no one has all the answers on.
No.
I know my party, we reached out via a letter to Dr. Drew in relation to trying to get some information about the LFA, because yes, there are certain things that the government or present government may not want to, follow through on based on the previous administration. But as we I don't have a difficulty at all meeting minds, because I would do whatever I have to do to ensure the safety of the persons, of the residents in East Bastille. And I was very shocked. I came out of Zoom court on Thursday morning. I sat down in the front of my office, and then I heard the gunshots again. And my staff was wondering, like, what happened? And we peeped outside the door, and then we saw persons running. That was when there was a third murder. So something has to be done. At that point, I think Dr. Hanley is acting Prime Minister. He was not on island. The Prime Minister was not on island. And I saw that there was a press conference on Friday. Yeah. Very unfortunate statements were made. I saw that there was an attempt to retract some of those statements, or one statement. But the government does not have all the answers. I do not have all the answers. The community needs to get involved. The police need to be given the necessary tools and resources to make sure that they can fight crime. But I do not have an issue with Dr. Hanley as an individual. Okay. And so that was one of the reasons why when persons started to ask me to say certain things, it's him as an individual. But as a representative, there are going to be certain shortcomings. There are certain shortcomings. But that doesn't mean I must hate him. Yeah. That doesn't mean I must call him all manner of evil. Because how does that benefit the constituents? Yeah. How does that benefit the community? How does that benefit the country? So I know there are naysayers who would want me to be a bit more aggressive, be a bit more forceful. Let me focus on the issues. That's what I will be focusing on in relation to Mr. Hanley. But he hasn't done me anything as an individual. And so that is why a person may not have seen what they want to see in relation to the platform banter, if I may call it that. Yeah. Because I can make my point forcefully without being disrespectful. Okay. And so I know we have a long way to go in relation to our politics, because sometimes it can get a bit dirty, if I could put it as bluntly as that.
You put it nicely.
The name calling has been something that I've seen since I was a small girl coming up. Yeah. And I think I am educated enough to be able to pound the issues and pound the pavement and ensure that I represent and also push forward the issues on behalf of the people without getting dirty.
Yeah. Well, I applaud you for that, and I hope, I trust and hope that you won't even wait for Dr. Hanley to come to you, but you to even approach him, go to him, do something, because I don't like the situation as it stands. It worries me from somebody who has been in the tourism industry, and I'm a people's man, and I don't like what is happening, and we need to be proactive instead of reactive at this particular time. I don't want to misspoke, I don't want to misspoke at all. But anyway.
I have his telephone number. I'm not sure if he's back as yet, but I definitely would, because I have some ideas and certain things that I would want to see in relation to the constituency and also to the safety and purity of the residents, because 3 murders in 1 week.
Yeah, it is hurtful.
That can't become the norm.
No, it's hurtful. It's hurtful. And, as I said, I hope you would reach out to him. I don't care if he's overseas. Call him. Get do what you got to do. We don't know when the next incident might happen, but we don't want it to happen, So, I force you. I'm going to be one of the naysayers and say, press him. He's my friend. I love him. He's like a brother, just like you're a sister to me. I believe that we got to put all hands on deck and get rid of this Scrooge. Now, you are in a little bit of a limelight right now because your party is going through some changes and you're one of the people who are in the forefront of being probably elected as the new party leader. Now, I was somewhat disappointed to hear that Sean Richards is stepping down. The Honorable Sean Richards is somebody who I got no problem with. I like him as a person in the opposition whenever he makes his presentation to any bill that's passed.
You don't like him in government? You like him in government?
No, not really that, because remember he was in government and he got removed, and I don't even think he should have let that happen, but that's another story. But what I'm saying is that he always get up to make his point, and he would give you his positive and he was give you the negative, and I don't have a problem with that, because I think we always need a very powerful, not strong opposition, but a very powerful opposition. Otherwise we have no control of what's going on, and it was
there must be checks and balances.
Exactly, checks and balances. And it's sad to see that he's young, he's got a lot of energy left in him still, and unfortunate as the situation would have dictated with the last unity government, I believe he had a lot to offer, but his hands were somewhat tied. And I was hoping, even if, his party didn't win, that he would still be there as a force to be reckoned with. And we got to give him kudos. He has been the first man to, take over a seat in that area and has kept it for so many years. And as I said, he's got youth on his side, and he's given up so much. I mean, I don't think I would have given up my green card, my U.S. citizenship for any political opportunity. So, I applaud him for things like that. And he's a generally...
Yeah, that's what you call country above self.
Exactly.
I admire him. He's my friend. I think he was a great leader. He still is the political leader, because although he said he's not contesting the position, the term doesn't end until June. And so I know that he has brought the party from one extreme to the next, where we were at a point where we had no seats.
Yes. And
was our Lone Ranger at one time, championing the cause for the People's Action Movement and for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yeah.
And he was also able to see our party into government in 2015. And so I know that he has made an indelible mark on the country, and he has also touched a lot of lives. And I guess that's why people say, Sean, we love you. But he has made a decision, and that is a decision that we have to respect. I think that he, as he said, he would not be disappearing from the political scene or from the party. I think that he is someone that the party can still benefit from. I'm not sure what his decision is in relation to constituency number 5, but he continues to represent their seat, the seat in Sandy Point and Parliament.
Yeah.
So I wish him well in his endeavors, and whatever he decides, I would respect his decision. In relation to the issue of the party leadership, well, that is not to be decided until June. I think it's June 2nd or 3rd. I can't remember the exact date, but that will be decided by the delegates. I've seen a lot of things on social media. As far as I'm aware, I don't think anyone has actually indicated officially to the party their interest. I don't know what would happen over the coming days or weeks, but there would be a time for that. A number of persons have asked me whether or not I am contesting the position. This is something that I honestly, after the 2022 elections, that was the furthest thing from my mind.
Okay.
I had just gone through an election, a snap election under trying circumstances.
Yeah.
And as you said, I was not successful. And I was more about looking at how can I complete some of the things that I wanted to do? How can I find out, where did I go wrong as an individual, as a candidate, and try to make sure that I can improve, remain in touch with the constituents, and see what I can do to make sure that Jeffrey does not win the seat next election. And I'm working I'm working on that. I'm working on that first, because I'm coming out with fire, and not fire to burn him down or burn him up, but I'm trying to make sure that I secure the seat.
Okay.
So in the next election, I want him to work with me, because I intend to that seat. But persons from within the party, persons who don't even follow politics like that, Labour supporters, they said, why not think about becoming the leader if that opportunity arrives? And I shut it down, Cris, because Sean is the leader, and I don't want to get caught in any power struggle, or for persons to think I'm trying to push out Sean. And for me to do something like that is not who I am.
Yeah.
And after persons continue to ask certain questions, I said to myself, if it is Sean makes a decision, then that is something that I could consider. Presently, I'm one of the 2 deputy political leaders.
Yes.
And apart from that, I just became a deputy political leader last year. I have been involved in the party's executive for in excess of 12 years. From the national level, and even on the constituency level. My first real work on election, I was just turning 18, and I feel like I was young and vibrant, and I went and I challenged Dr. Douglas when he came to vote, because I thought that he wasn't supposed to vote in constituency number 1, and so I feel that I was a bully to challenge Douglas. But as I said, I have been campaigning. I know the ins and the outs, and as I said, persons do things for other persons, other candidates.
Yeah. And
that's when I decided to put my hat in the ring. If I'm going to put my hat in the ring for political leader, I'm going to make up my mind soon, because I think I need to reach out to the persons, if it is I make that decision, who are going to decide who the political leader will be. And so I think time is of the essence. I've prayed about it. I've discussed it with my husband. I've discussed it with my mother. I've discussed it with my father. I've also discussed it with my constituency executive.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take people out of suspense sooner rather than later, because if it is the party is going to get a new leader, persons need to know who that person is. They need to know what the qualities are.
Yeah.
They need to know what their involvement in the community or with different communities, so that they can make an informed decision. I would trust and hope that whoever becomes the new political leader, the party remains focused, becomes better organized, and remains as a unit, because together we can make things happen. And when we are more organized and more focused, we will be able to chart a better path, not just for the party, but for the country on the whole. And people are watching, Cris.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen polls going out. I don't know who commissioned the poll, but I don't think it's a poll that was commissioned by the party. As deputy political leader, I would know that it's not a poll commissioned by the party. But persons are looking to see what is happening. They not just locally, but regionally, because clearly whoever becomes a political leader is someone who would have to take up the nation on their shoulder.
Yes.
And champion the cause of the nation and make sure that they keep agitating for the people and to make sure that they do what is necessary, because you have to show yourself that your party can be the alternative government.
Yeah.
And so I would hope that when we come out of the caucus in a month and a half or so, that the country is better informed and they are in a position to say, well, I think the party made a wise choice.
Wonderful. Well, let's say now, you know, the road on the street is that it's a a two-lady race right now. And I think a lot of people are saying that I hear it from big Labour people as well, They want Pam need youth. So I don't know what that means. I don't know within the two ladies there who is the younger one.
I don't know who else is interested, Chris. But I think Pam have competent persons, and the party would make the right decision, not just for the party, but for the people. Because ultimately, yes, it's the party's business, but then we're offering ourselves to the people. And we must make sure that the people have a certain level of satisfaction, because we don't want to make decisions in haste, and then we end up disappointing the people. So Pam have a number of men and women that can fill that position. So I don't know if it's going to boil down to 2 men or 2 women or 3 persons, but I'm not going over into May. I'm making my decision before the end of this month.
Wonderful. Well, I hope when that time comes, you'll come back and give us another follow-up interview as well. Because as I said, you're being average and you're being fair and you're being balanced. And you said whether it's men or women, but the word on the street is a 2-women race. And the majority of people are saying the younger one of the 2 is the preferred one. So I know you said you don't know who the other candidates are, which I believe you're pulling me leg, but I ain't saying nothing. You said something that was very interesting, though, that the poll wasn't really something that was conducted by the party. So I wonder what is going on that we don't know about.
Well, I don't know if it was to generate interest or if it was to push a particular narrative. I don't know. But the poll was there. As I said, it's not a poll that was commissioned by the party. I go to executive meetings almost every week, and we never discussed or approved a poll to be carried out in relation to any individuals. Because even though the poll was out there, the decision lies with the delegates. Yeah. And so yeah, it's nice. I mean, the politics is getting hot. You know, persons are discussing issues and discussing who is going to be the party leader. There are going to be the negative comments about anybody who might want to put up themselves, as well as the positive. But that's what democracy is. Yes. And so you can't want to offer yourself and always get all good. Yeah. So the bad is going to come there, but you just have to take it in stride and continue to show persons that you are a big individual and you're able to overcome any criticism, constructive or otherwise. But I definitely have thought about it, Chris. I am not going to pretend or dig my head in the sand. I have thought about it. I have been asked about it over and over and over again. And my real thought process went into it when I knew what Sean was about to do in relation to, because he ought to be respected. Yes. Yeah. There needs to be nothing direct or indirect trying to say anything otherwise. And so I think he deserves that respect, and he got it. And now that he has indicated to the party and to the general public and the world, decisions will be made in terms of how many hats will go in the ring and who will come out wearing the hat.
Yeah. And I must say one thing about Sean Richards. The guy is not selfish. I mean, he had the chance to be Prime Minister, and who wouldn't jump at that? But he's about country above self, and I'm not a big supporter of the party, but I believe in people who are dedicated, and that's one of the qualities I find about him, that some people might say he might have been soft, and to support somebody twice or putting them ahead of yourself says a lot about the person. Whether some people think that he wasn't prepared for it or not,
he's a true patriot.
Yeah, a true patriot. Now, if you were to choose two people from PAM, past and present, that you would like to emulate, that you admire, and that you would like to use their qualities in your development, and two people from Labour, who would those two people be from both sides?
The people from Labour, let me see who I would like to emulate. Okay, I'll get back to that. Not saying that I have to think no. Dame Constance Mitchum, for sure.
Yeah. I
would like to carry on some of the things that she championed on behalf of women. And you see, she is a soft-spoken individual, but results.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's not to talk the loudest. Sometimes it's not to talk the hardest. And the first Prime Minister, maybe I will need to have a sit with him and find out, how did it feel to be a Prime Minister? How did you balance that with your family? And how did you ensure that the country was always made a top priority? Because I think even if you are not from the same political party, you can learn from persons who had public office.
Yes.
And I think it would be good to hear from him. I know he has written a book which he tells a number of stories, but a one-on-one is always good. And who knows, maybe if there are two women vying for the leadership position, one may end up being the first female Prime Minister.
Oh, okay.
So, good to talk with him.
Yeah, it's a dream. It's a dream that could come true.
And dreams can become reality. You just have to work and put in the effort and be devoted.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see now. From the Labour standpoint, I'm thinking hard, because I know they did work. So I'm not going to pretend that they didn't.
No. Well, it could be past or present, past or present. It doesn't have to be, because you chose two who are of, I would say, the past, and they've made both sterling contribution. I mean, as a kid, Dr. Simmons was my doctor, and we still share a good joke in passing whenever, I meet him. And that's a man I think has always put people above politics. And, we all have our differences, and we all believe in our different things for different reasons. But as a statesman, Sir Kennedy has always reached out to people on either side, and some may not like him, some may not like his thinking and doing. But as an average person, man on the road, you would not know that he was Prime Minister. He carries on and gets along with everybody still, and the respect and admiration that the nation has for him shows it, in every walk of life.
Okay, and you gave me opportunity to continue to think. Well, I would not like to emulate Dr. Douglas, but I think we have to give it to him when it comes to pushing his agenda, when it comes to his passion. He has it.
Yeah.
And in relation to ensuring that whether you're qualified or not, party supporters, the rank and file of the party, they get to be involved in certain decision-making processes. So, not that I would want to be him, but he has certain characteristics that would stand out.
Yeah.
For me. He is not. I'm really sure what I like. Okay. Dwyer.
Okay.
Dwyer tells it like it is. Dwyer Astafan.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may not agree with him, but the reality is he call a spade a spade.
Yeah, he's not afraid of anybody either. Not afraid of anybody.
Yes, he's not afraid of his party supporters. He's not afraid of who in government. He's not afraid of who in opposition. And he bets other people going to hear it. So he ain't keeping it to himself. He ain't talking in a body cup. He gonna tell other people, and he going on the radio with it too. Yeah. So I think that is because he keeps the public informed.
Yeah, yeah.
He keeps the public informed, and I think sometimes the ordinary man don't understand situations, and he breaks it down for them.
Yes. I mean, how do you feel about the political landscape in St. Kitts? You think there's a lot of victimization still happening? I know a couple of months ago you made a video about the high cost of living. If you were to be elected, your party was to be elected, how would you go about changing that?
Well, you see, right now, the economy is at a standstill, and you find persons are struggling to make ends meet. Yes, there has been a change of government. He said, there were a number of promises, better with labor, everything is going to be better, the cost of living is going to decrease, VAT is going to be reduced, the PAP or the different social packages, they're going to move from one amount to the next, and you find that a number of manifesto promises have not been completed, and within the time frame that the government or the then opposition would have indicated based on their manifesto.
Yeah.
Now, let's take that, for example. That came into existence under Labour administration. And I think that instead of doing the 1, 2, 3, I think it is, 3 reduced VAT days, reduce the VAT. You made a promise in your manifesto. Maybe you may not be able to get it to the percentage, but reduce the VAT so that you can make things a little less burdensome on the ordinary man. Now, the wages went up in January, but how does that affect the businessman? The businessman who has 4 employees, he was paying $360 per week for these employees, now has to pay $430. So that's an added $70 for each employee.
Yes.
But the sales or the revenue is not being generated because, I'm a lawyer and this is not about speaking ill of anybody, but the debtors list has increased tremendously. And so yes, some persons may not budget properly, but there are some persons who just can't afford to live. Yeah. You go in the supermarkets and you come out with a bag and a half and you're almost $300. How does a mother who's working for minimum wage with 2 children, let's say 2 children, afford, even if it's not $300, $200 and something on groceries, when he or she has to pay rent and also to pay bus fee, has to get the school supplies for their children. Yeah. And yes, there is the support of the father. It may not always be forthcoming, but the pressures of life is so much. Some businesses are still trying to recover from the effects of COVID, and so they can't afford that increase in salary. And so there you have it, that the businessman now has to either lay off one of his staff members, maybe two, but let's say one, or reduce hours. So it goes back now to the employee. Okay, so I used to get this amount of shifts, or I used to work 5 days a week, but my boss now has to restructure as it may.
Yeah.
And give less hours, less money in the pocket. I still can't pay my bills. So the construction industry, I mean, things have gone to a lull. And so you find that with that reduced income, the people are not being as, in
productive
terms of paying them, they're not being as consistent, let me put it that way, and they're not able to have a meaningful standard of living. Now, this would not only just affect person's income, but your mindset, because if you are worrying about how am I going to find my next meal, then that's a burden on you. And so you may have your pressure may go up and other health related issues. It not only puts a burden on your pocket, but your family members who now have to worry about you.
Yeah. Psychological.
Something that,
psychological.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that what we are going through now, it changes drastically by the end of this year, because unfortunately, some persons are going to suffer seriously, whether it's health issues, and I'm hoping not death, but people stress a lot. Yeah. We may not hear of all the stories. And you just happen to hear Jane dead, and it's, but she look okay, but then you don't know what's going on in her psyche. We don't know what's going on in her mind, what she has to deal with, and pride, because we are proud people, We're not going to going to always tell everybody the story.
Yeah.
So right now, the government need a reset. Right now, the country needs a reset, because the people, unfortunately, in my mind, since August 2022, they have not elevated. We are at a standstill, and something needs to be done to ensure that the country moves forward sooner rather than later. Oh. So discussions may need to be had on other things other than crime, because we have to look after the interests of our people. We may not have all the answers. We may not be able to satisfy everyone, but we must be able to create the opportunities so that persons can find avenues to empower themselves and to remain with us here on the land of the living. Okay. I think we really owe it to our people. We owe it to our people.
Yeah, I mean, the world itself is in a shutdown and lockdown, and not lockdown, but financially lockdown, because people just not spending. I mean, even myself as a wedding photographer, weddings have just dried up like that. I mean, people are not really too concerned about recording and capturing that moment when they're in all their splendor. And you've seen it, your income is less, but the groceries are going up, and you wonder, well, how those people who don't have an intake like you do survive. And as you said, the psyche is what we got to be concerned about. And coming out of COVID, to be honest with you, that was one of my biggest concerns, not only for the general public, but for the people who were caring for us. I mean, some of the nurses have never seen that amount of deaths or people brought to the door of death. And, lucky for those who rebounded like yourself. And,
I mean, I really have to give it to the health individuals, because they work under trying circumstances. I mean, I don't know. I can't point out certain persons who would just lie in a bed with somebody who has COVID, because when I experienced that, I knew that this person was taking the job to heart. Yeah. Because who does that when you have to go home to your family.
Yeah.
Lay in a bed with somebody who is fully infected with COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, we really have to give our health officials, those who are working and dealing with the brunt of the different experiences from the patients, those who are working double shifts, those who are working longer hours. I really have to give it to the health officials. I mean, when I came out the hospital, I really had to show my appreciation to those persons who were on the COVID ward, because it was an experience that I would not like to have again.
No. If you were to change anything, whether you're on the outside or you're on the inside of government, and I personally want to wish you the best, because I think your heart is in the right place. I believe, we need youth in Parliament. I'm not saying nothing wrong with the older heads. I mean, experience you can't buy it in Rams or Value Mart. But as you've got youth on your side and you've seen what happens within your community, you've seen the level of poverty, you've seen the level of crime, what would you want to change first, given that opportunity?
I would go for, in terms of poverty, we need to find unique ways to show persons how to uplift themselves. We can't continue to give short-term measures to be able to solve a particular position, because you can give a man a fish, but that will only feed him for 1 day or maybe 2. But I think some persons withhold certain information and don't show people how to fish, don't show people how to create that business plan that would wow the world. But then we accept something that is of a lesser standard from someone who is not a citizen, let me put it that way. So you find that the opportunities that can be afforded to the average person, they continue to be denied. And so with that, we just remain, or some of them just remain on the poverty line, and we don't see any enhancement in the community. And that was one of the things that I thought of when I established a foundation in January of this year, the East Bastia Enhancement Foundation. Because you always hear that there are East Bastia full of rich persons on one side and a different persons from a poorer side. I think together they can coexist. They can coexist and make sure that everyone is given the same opportunity to rise, the same opportunity to create your own business. We must not always have a certain set of persons who are able to thrive and succeed. I think it should be a balanced playing field, and so I want an avenue whereby we may not be able to eliminate poverty completely, but when you empower people and when you give them that opportunity to be able to reach the sky, you will see the ripple effect. You may see a reduction in crime. You will see improved health conditions. You will see more entrepreneurs walking. You will see less persons going around with sponsorships asking for donations because somebody cannot afford health insurance. And with that, you not only improve your community, but you improve the country on a whole. And then persons from within the region may be able to look at St. Kitts Nevis and say, well, I want that for my country. I want to be able to uplift my people. I want to be able to make doctors, entrepreneurs, bankers, accountants within a shorter space of time. And people will feel that everything or the things that anyone can accomplish is not just for Mr. and Mrs. this son or Mr. and Mrs. this daughter. It is something that anyone can accomplish, and that is something that is dear to my heart. And I don't know if it's because of my humble beginnings. Yes, because I just want to see people move from point A to point B.
Okay.
And I think we have to start by providing those opportunities and avenues.
Wonderful. And before I let you go, because I know you're a mother and you got your Sunday things you got to get done, what's your take on the regional integration? I know a lot of people at home are saying we ain't got enough jobs for ourselves, and we opening up our doors possibly to an influx of people who may be skilled or unskilled. I mean, what is your take on that? You potentially could be maybe the next and first female prime minister. So I want to hear your views on that.
But before we go and make certain decisions, let us start at home. As I said, when persons see that St. Kitts Nevis is progressing at a level like, they never expected, they may want to rush to our shores.
Yeah.
But let's make sure. So every person christen their own child first. I welcome the regional integration, but we have to make sure that we put certain things in place to make sure that the residents and citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis are looked after. Then we can always do it at maybe a particular kind of basis.
Quota. We laid in 20 this month, we laid in 10 next month, and that kind of thing. Because that's what they do here in Europe, They have quotas of how much immigrants they're going to let come in at any particular time,
But you have to make sure that you look after your people, because then you're gonna create an angry society, and we don't want to go up a level in relation to the anger.
Yeah.
We don't want to make our people feel alienated.
Yeah, create that atmosphere.
And we have to make, that's not a happy situation that we would be creating. So let's start at home, and then, as you said, we put certain quotas in place and make certain decisions so that we can not just welcome others, but make sure that we're welcoming others to a happy St. Kitts Nevis and a happy people.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking with Mrs. Natasha Shannie Grey-Brookes, my guest this afternoon, as we talk not only about her party's history and her aspirations and what's happening on the ground in St. Kitts right now, but in general. Shannie, is there anything you want to leave with the public this afternoon? And I must thank you. And as I said, I have my pointers out on you, and I always admire what you're doing, especially when anybody got time to uplift the community, whether it's the Christmas parties or the fun get-together, but your political matureness has resonated throughout the constituency. Even people who didn't vote for you, they all love you and admire you because your pleasantness speaks volumes. So I'll let you have the final say, and I want to thank you again a million times over for being my special guest this afternoon. A lot of the politicians on either sides, they fear me. I don't know why, because I'm always very, gentle. Troublesome by nature in some ways, but, gentle in other ways.
Gentle you. I would just like to say to everyone who's listening, thank you for making me part of your Sunday afternoon. I know you could have been doing something better, but I want everyone to just keep the faith and know that whatever you're going through, whether it is something financial, something for you in relation to your health, personal family matters, just hold on to the strength and love of our God and Savior Jesus Christ, because if He puts you through something, He will see you through it. And so don't let your circumstances define you. Try and continue to hold faith, because better days are coming.
And one of the things we must do, Shannie, as you said it earlier, our pride sometimes is the killer more than the illness or the financial strains. Our pride is normally one of the things that we don't look over. I mean, there's no cure for it in none of the pharmacies, but we often let that overpower us. And I think to reach out and not just touch somebody, but talk to somebody makes a difference. So, Shannie, I want to thank you. I want to wish yourself and your family and the young one that's coming up and your husband, please convey my regards to him, and your mother, do that for me and your father as well. And again, I want to thank you for being my guest this afternoon, and let you know also that our doors are always open to you, because the people on either side need to sometimes get that assurance that we have caring people in our society who are willing to serve. So again, I say thank you and God bless you, and I'll let you have the final word this afternoon.
Thank you, Cris, for having me. I know we haven't seen each other physically in a very long time, but I will definitely look forward to coming online again with you, and hopefully we could meet up soon, and hopefully by that time you would know who the leader of the People's Action Movement is, and we can discuss whether or not I was being as forthright with you.
Well, I'm going to be slipping to the later in the year on route to somewhere else. I'll make sure I put you on my agenda that we can, if not exchange recipes, enjoy your recipe.
All right, no problem. Take care, and thanks for having me. And I think it's almost past your bedtime, so you need to go to sleep now.
No, 7:35, man. And I'm doing good. I remember, I'm yet young, I'm not some of the people who get tired quickly. Not at all. Not at all.